when you and Candace have these couples in your church, and they're either going through premarital counseling, or maybe they've already been together for a while, and you've already defined what marriage is for them, and now you're trying to help equip them with things that they can take into the battle that is marriage, that lifelong commitment. And you guys have them do kind of like a constitution, or like some kind of like handwritten. Okay.
Yeah. So
are you getting like feather pens and quills and
the Continental Congress? I have a sort of a process that I walk them through.
Okay.
Actually, at first we talk about Ephesians 5. We talk about Genesis 1, God's role for men and women, God's plan. And here's the thing: when I say God's role for men and women, what I don't mean is that men should be like big butch, extremely masculine, meatheads, and that women should be like dainty, delicate homemakers. I think there's a great
because I would never pass.
Well, there's the beautiful thing about it is that there's like the ultra feminine side of the spectrum, and there's the ultra masculine side of the spectrum, and every person exists somewhere on that line. And I think we're sort of obsessing about gender identity so much that we don't realize that actually, you may have this sort of pansexual whoever person who is really just wrestling with their own uniqueness. And I'm different than my dad, and I'm different than my mom, and there's something about me that's totally unique, and that's beautiful. It's by design. God made you unique, but we all want to know what niche we fit in, and and so we're looking at minority groups based on race, based on gender, based on sexual orientation, based on their own sort of demeanor, or maybe unique gender expressions, a unique mixture of what we would consider masculine or feminine. But the truth is that the individual is sort of the ultimate minority, that there's nobody else that is the unique mixture of attributes that you are, right? And that's a beautiful thing. The individual is, that's not my statement. That's Jordan Peterson said that, I think, that the individual is the ultimate minority. It's a beautiful idea. And a really true concept. I think if we continue to sort of down the path of, unique expression and individuality, what we discover is that, every single person has a long list of reasons that they could be persecuted and insulted. Every single person has, struggles that they have to overcome. Every single person has benefits and opportunities that are presented to them. And everybody's experience of the world is different. Every individual person. And so that's a really beautiful thing. And so we talk when we're talking about marriage. That's sort of where we start, is by talking about this stuff and talking about the masculine and the feminine and where they fit together, how they complement each other, and recognizing that you may be a guy that's 5'2" and 103 pounds, and you may have a wife that's 6'2" and 280 pounds. And that's a beautiful, it's fine. It's cool. If you guys love each other, that's great. Love each other for the glory of God. You guys are going to have an awesome marriage, and
beautiful kids.
And beautiful, you're going to have great kids. I don't care, if a guy's maybe more traditionally feminine or a girl's maybe more traditionally masculine, it doesn't matter. I don't think they deserve persecution or disrespect in any way. But we talk about the sort of interplay between the masculine and the feminine and how God can be demonstrated through that. And then we talk about identity and things, and then I get into the Geneva Convention, which we can talk about if you want, but we sort of end with the Constitution of the marriage. I think the American Constitution is one of the most significant and beautiful documents ever written. I think it was God inspired. I don't think I cannot imagine that a group of hard-headed, stubborn men like the members of the Continental Congress would ever be able to get together and come to any kind of consensus, let alone a consensus as really historically revolutionary as that one. That they would make a declaration we believe that all men were created equal and were endowed with certain inalienable rights, among them the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I mean, that concept alone had never been, that's revolutionary in a couple different ways. Way number one is that it's the first time in history that a political document had been released outlining that people had rights that were given to them by God, and that the function of government is not to grant rights, but actually to protect the rights you've already been given. I think that is a revolutionary concept, and that's the first time in history it was ever presented to the world. That the role of government wasn't to give you rights. The role of government was to protect the rights that God has given you. That's a revolutionary concept in itself. And then to go along with that, to say that all men were created equal. I mean, while they didn't accomplish it there while they were writing the Constitution, they laid the groundwork for what became the end of slavery, the end of segregation, women's suffrage. I mean, the most substantial advancements in human equality came as a result of philosophies and ideas that were written in the American Constitution. It's an amazing document, an amazing accomplishment for these men to come together. I mean, flawed, broken men, some of them slave owners. I mean, like, bad guys based on who you ask, who were able to accomplish something enduring and significant that has really changed the world in a lot of positive ways. We haven't arrived, of course, but we're moving in a good direction. The world is a lot more equitable than it was 250 years ago when they wrote that document. So I think it's an amazing accomplishment and something that is worth acknowledging and affirming. Now, at the same time, I think one of the more significant parts of it is that it's just an objective document that we can come back to and refer to over and over and over again. And we do as a country. We go back to the Constitution, and we went back to the Constitution to draw some conclusions about what we should do about segregation and Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. And we went back to the Constitution in Lincoln's day, when we abolished slavery. We did so based on the ideas in the Constitution. And so we certainly grow in our ability to apply this objective truth, this document that is really more maybe a philosophical document than a political one. And so we've applied it in a lot of different ways through the years. But having something objective that you can go to, so it's not just one party against another, or it's not just one group against another. We can actually come back and say, well, this is the goal. This is what we all agreed to when we became Americans, and this is what we're all striving to become. I think that's a beautiful concept. And so one of the things I do when I'm counseling couples who are going to get married is I walk them through a process of discovering and uncovering who they are as individuals, who they've been called to be, and I'll have them write that out. I'll have them intentionally not discuss it with each other, for the girl to come and say, hey, this is who God has called me to be. This is what God has called me to do. And for her fiance to come and write down, for himself, this is what God has called me to do and who God has made me to be. And then I'll say, this is beautiful. And I have them trade that and say, his call becomes her responsibility and her call becomes his responsibility. And when we're in covenant together, my main priority needs to be that you become who God has called you to be. And then I'll have them together spend a week praying and writing essentially a constitution for their marriage, that this is our goal. This is our vision for what marriage ought to be. We're committing ourselves to, we're going to prioritize daily prayer. We're going to raise our kids in the presence of the Lord. We're going to be a family that worships and doesn't just talk about it. We're going to be actively involved in our church. There's a lot of different couples that value and prioritize a lot of different things, but they go through and they make some commitments and some declarations that they both can agree on about what the culture of their marriage is going to be like. And most of the couples that go through that, they'll print it off and frame it and hang it in their house somewhere, so that, instead of saying, hey, you hurt my feelings and now I'm mad at you, they can just sort of point at the Constitution like you said. It's not about what I want. It's about what you want. When we were engaged and we went through premarital counseling, we had this idea about what our marriage should be like, and your pride or your disrespect or your anger or your lust, it's undermining the goals that we set. And I don't want to hold you accountable to my standards. I want to hold you accountable to your standards. And these are what you said your standards were. And so I think having that objective document that's outside of, my heart or my wife's heart, having an objective document to come back to is a really beautiful and useful and beneficial thing. And so, yeah, I have them sort of write a constitution for their marriage so that they can revisit it whenever they need.
And it's never used as like you're in the middle of an argument and then all of a sudden you grab your spouse's wrist and like yank them downstairs and you point to it and you're like, see, I'm right, you're wrong. Right. Like, I'm sure it's not used in that way, because then the next day that constitution's gone.
Never. Yeah.
That spouse rips that thing up, burns it, and is like, you will never do that to me again.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I want to feel like if my wife did that to me, I'd be able to say, you're right. You're right. Like, I said that I wouldn't speak to you like this, and I just did, and it's there in black and white on the wall. Like, I violated my own commitment to you and to the Lord, and I'm really sorry about that. I want to think that would be, at least for some people, a great way to be accountable to what we say we want.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow, that is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.